Do you know what the best martial art is on a bus? I do. You might be thinking, Mike, how can you possibly know that? There's not enough data to know what the best martial arts are for fighting on a bus. Well, I have some data now. I fought Jeff Chan, Matt Clinton, Rokas, Sensei Seth, and Ramsey Dewey on a bus. And then I watched them all fight each other. The first episode of the Ultimate Self-Defense Challenge is out right now on Martial Arts Journey. And that's what we did. We fought a round-robin tournament on a bus. I'm going to be breaking down all my fights from the bus. I'm going to talk about what worked and what didn't. It might surprise you. You might be suspecting that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the answer on the bus. Yes and no. The first thing I want to say is that the production value of this thing blew us all away. We didn't know exactly how it was going to look. Rokas didn't really tell us like how the show when it was done was going to look. And I'm impressed. I kind of thought it was going to suck, but it's blown away my expectations. I know everyone's curious about the behind the scenes stuff, like what was it like all living together. It was really cool. I won't share too much of that because I don't know how much Rokas is going to share. I assume some. They put us on this bus with this very nice bus driver lady, and let's talk about the scoring. Damage, remember that, and environment. That's what they're scoring on. That's where the points are coming from. Wins are worth 1 point, draws are worth 0. The first fight, because they want to make the first fight the best fight, they made me and Jeff Chan fight first, of course. I was extremely nervous here. Jeff threw a good hard knee, and then because of the angles in the seats, the second knee couldn't come in, and ooh, good up kick. Let me tell you about that up kick. Pause. The up kick was how I did most of my damage during this competition. As you watch the rest of the episodes on Martial Arts Journey, you're gonna see me throw up kicks a lot. Now, I lost my shoe here, and that taught me a lesson later I'll get into. But Jeff's having a really hard time landing quality shots on me during all this. Until right there, when he can pass my legs. But then I was able to pop up because the bus lurched. Now we're doing there's a little bit of Greco-Roman, a little bit of clinch fighting. He tries to suck my legs out. Now if we were up against the cage, it'd be easy, but it was hard for him here. And without those seats, I'm never taking Jeff Chan down during a scramble. This is all just pretty standard, like upright grappling, Greco-Roman wrestling, clinch fighting. So in that fight, Jeff Chan landed a very good shot while he was giving me the ground and pound, or like seat and beat, I guess is what you would call it. I think he's winning that fight. It's hard to judge the up kick versus the punches, and you know, who knows. We only had a minute to work, and I felt like I was probably just a little too complacent when I was on my back, but it's extremely difficult to move. But what you're gonna see is that on your back with your opponent in your guard is also a relatively safe place to be. So the answer is, what's the best martial art, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for sure. Still, maybe not. Because if we look at the very next fight, which was Rokas versus Matt, Rokas gets on this rear naked choke as Matt's trying to get away and climb over the seats. So with the rear naked choke, that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? Rokas has no hooks in, but Matt can't fight with his hands because he needs his hands to balance. All the ways that you would defend this position don't apply here. So let's talk about the fight between me and Seth. That was sort of a weird one. We started on relatively even footing. Seth gave me a lot more space and respect here than I thought he would, and then he pushed in. Now right here, you might be thinking, Mike, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I would love to tell you that, well, moving to my right or to my left might have been a great choice, and I felt like I couldn't because my feet were, in the seat. The truth is, I really just wanted to do something fun. And part of me didn't care about the possibility of ending up on my back because I kind of feel like I'm going to end up there anyway. And if I put myself there, it's on my terms. So I never thought that I would finish a triangle, really. But I thought I could threaten it and hold him and move him around and maybe hit him from that. But he was able to pass my legs and land a couple of good elbows here. When I felt my feet hit the ceiling, I realized that the knees were gonna be there. Normally, if you're on bottom and you're just throwing knees, even if you're inverted or up against a cage or something like that, knees from the bottom to a person on top of you don't do a lot. You can't get a great angle to actually get the point of the knee, and they don't have a ton of power. But with my foot on the ceiling, I felt just as good as if I was standing. Like upside down, I felt totally normal. Like I didn't even feel disadvantaged or like that was a place I didn't want to be. I do want to briefly show this fight between Ramsey and Matt, because Ramsey just didn't even bother trying to get up once he realized he wouldn't beat the faster man to his feet. And he just used his legs and his guard. And that further solidified. After watching that, I was like, yep, that's the ticket, because I'm going to end up. That cracks me up. Him throwing that shoe was hilarious. I realized that if I'm going to be on my back, if I can put myself there in the position that I choose, that's better than getting put there. So this is me versus Rokas, and Rokas is huge. A lot of people don't realize that. So I had to put my foot against the wall to try to match, head position fighting with him. And now from this guillotine, I've actually been here before. Once before, I was here with Ryan Hoover on a couch, and your legs have to go to the opposite side of them from your head. Well, if there's a wall there, that's a problem. And I was in this exact same scenario at Fit to Fight, and I realized when I walked my legs over that it wasn't that big a deal, that the guillotine's not happening. And I remembered, okay, I'm okay if I'm upside down. Let me put my feet back here on this wall. And now I was giving knees to the body. Here, I was looking for an armbar. I was not kicking my feet around like a baby. I feel safe here. He can't land any quality shots, and he also can't disengage, because then I'll improve my position or up kick. But I was hunting for an armbar. And you might not believe that I was hunting for an armbar, especially because I keep saying that BJJ might not be the best martial art on a bus. But I was hunting for an armbar. I'll prove it. This fight between Ramsey and Rokas illustrates what I'm talking about. Like, the guard is a bad place to get stuck in, and you can't swivel to attack with triangles and arm bars the same way that you would if on a mat or in a cage. But they also can't pass. It's extremely difficult to pass guard, effectively and efficiently in this bus. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time like bitching about the scoring or belly aching that I didn't get any points at all. No points. But I won this next fight. But they gave it to Matt. Now, Matt gave me a good bit of room here and a lot of respect. He didn't commit. Now, you can't tell me that that's not the sweetest, cleanest, nicest, best front kick you've ever seen during a fight on a bus. I know that it is. I didn't have to hold on for balance. It went in there sharp. I followed the hands in. I got Matt, who's a very competent guy. He's chasing that thing. His hands went down low to defend it after the kick landed, so you know it hurt. I've got a good front kick. I may not have a great inverted BJJ armbar game, but I've got a good front kick. I sort of wrote the book on it, Front Kick Focus. There's a link to that down in the description below. Shameless plug. By the way, this video is brought to you by nobody. I gave Matt the stiffest, cleanest front kick of his life. Followed in with a good punch, and then gets the clinch position. Now, this is all Greco-Roman wrestling, but right here, you see my right knee there on the seat? I've got a problem. If I put this knee down on something soft, and I put weight on it, and then I roll this way, it locks up. Some people have said that that's a torn meniscus. I'm not sure. I know that it does. It's been that way for 10 years, and I have just learned how to work around it without letting it lock up. But in this environment, I don't have as much say-so about what I allow and what I don't allow. But it locked up very early in the fight. So all that's really happened is a front kick, a little bit of clinching, and now my knee has locked up. And it's going to cost me. It's going to impact the fight. So now I'm trying to work it out. You see, I kind of stopped fighting Matt for a second. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. And then I'm like, well, we're still fighting. This is self-defense. Headbutt, headbutt. Matt remembers headbutt and throws one back. And then I push him over, and I tried to extend that right leg. Let's run that one back. When I push him across the aisle here, I tried to put that right down and push off at least the seat, since I knew I couldn't put it to the floor. And I got a little bit with it. But you look, I can't put it down. So I'm able to get turned around pretty easily. But during that fight, let's look at what happens. Because it's not much. It's a front kick, some little headbutts, and then, two enormous elbows that were definitely damaging. Do you know how I know they were damaging? Because during the episode, they said these fights would be judged by damage and use of the environment. And when they said damage, they showed a clip of me landing those elbows during this fight. So now for sure, you're thinking, well, you definitely won this fight. But they gave it to Matt. But I have a theory as to why. Immediately after the fight, I was getting out of the way, so I went up towards the front of the bus, and I had to hop up there. One could argue that if at the end of the fight, one man can walk and the other one can't, you can make a case that the man who can walk won. I think I was okay even with the knee locked up because mobility doesn't matter much on the bus. Like I can't move around great on the bus, but nobody can move around great on the bus. There were a couple fights where guys had a lot of success at mitigating damage with the guard. Ramsey Dewey used it to great effect. Rokas used it here against Jeff to great effect. Improving position from bottom is extremely difficult on the bus, but improving position from top is equally as difficult. So this is the last fight. It's me and Ramsey Dewey. We start off a little rock, paper, scissors. If you guys know how I won that one, comment down below. It's pretty funny, actually. It's a nice little Easter egg in the show. I'm glad Rokas left it in. But the question is, why did I choose the inside? Well, I chose the inside because Ramsey was very tactical whenever he was in that corner. I watched him use the corner to his advantage, and I knew with his huge limbs and legs and his strength and his grappling ability that I was not passing any kind of guard in the bus. I wanted him to have to come to me, and I wanted to be able to capitalize on a mistake. That was my only hope for beating Ramsey Dewey in this fight. The very first one, I tried to give the bait of letting him put his arm across. I kept my arms glued to the seat before they said go. I wanted him to reach across and give me a limb, and he didn't. He was very smart, and he got a good position. And he threw in these knees, which were very painful. Those hurt. And I was able to scoot around a little bit and sort of mitigate that damage. I gave him a couple nut shots to remind him that this was the self-defense championship. So while I was thinking about that, I started building up my base. And now, if you didn't think before I was intentionally inverting and looking for an armbar, tell me what you see right now. That's me diving over that seat because I know that Ramsey Dewey can put me anywhere he wants, so why don't I go ahead and choose the battleground? And then look where Ramsey Dewey's left arm is. I wanted that thing so bad. It was so deep. I was so upset. And if you still don't believe that I was intentionally turning upside down every time, wait till you see the second episode. There's a big thing that happens on the bus in the beginning of the second episode. I want you to look through that thing and see if you can find me. See if you can pick me out of the chaos in the beginning of the second episode. It's due out April 9th. While I was in this position, I felt very safe. It was difficult for anyone to land quality, damaging shots to me. But, again, I can make a case for both sides. Within the context of this game, this is a safe tactic. I won't take a lot of damage. But if the context is real self-defense and all the variables are unknown, while this person can't punch or kick me very well, if they were to introduce a weapon, it would be extremely difficult for me to address it quickly from that position. Another thing to realize about fighting on a bus, it's one of the scenarios where time is on the side of the defender. Every criminal has a limit to the amount of eyes that they're willing to have on them and the amount of risk that they're willing to take to get what they want. So on a bus, there is a merit to stalling or defensive strategies. I think in an alleyway or parking lot, aggression is super important. I think on a bus, aggression is not as important. That being said, I could have been a little more aggressive. It was easier with Jeff and Matt for me to attack them because of we were a little closer in size, but Ramsey, Rokas, and Seth are all so much bigger than me. I knew I was going to end up on my back. So about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu thing, that would mean if I feel most comfortable inverted or on my back, that would mean I think that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the best. Not really, because here's the thing. The Jiu-Jitsu on display in the bus was all one stripe white belt or less. We're talking your stuff you learn in your first 2 to 3 weeks. I would argue that I actually use the highest levels of Jiu-Jitsu on the bus because of the positions that I intentionally chose, the efficiency with which I got there, and how I was able to attack from them. I think I was the best Jiu-Jitsu player on the bus. Even this rear naked choke, you would not use this as an example of the best way to throw a rear naked choke. This is just a guy, this looks like a sleeper hold from WWE. This looks like something a 14-year-old could figure out with his friends on a trampoline. This is not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The positions that we ended up in were decided either by the participants conceding a position or the stand-up clinch game, the stand-up wrestling. Greco-Roman style wrestling, it was the decision maker about all these positions. Muay Thai striking was the thing that did the most damage. The short little groin shots, those didn't do a lot of damage. You know what did? These big knees, those big knees, these other big knees, these elbows, Muay Thai did the damage. Greco-Roman wrestling decided the positions. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on display is stuff you could learn before your second month's tuition even autodrafts.